Hello, hello, little rats. Welcome back to another episode of Chatty Rats. I am your co host, Sheen, and I'm joined by.
Natalia, welcome back to Ratty Summer.
I love that rats have gained so much popularity.
Which, by the way, you got me into rats, into Charlie
XEX.
XEX. Sorry, I've been listening to her music a lot recently.
It's
I
so
really like it.
good. I don't know. It just hits perfectly this summer. It's what I'm in the mood to listen for because I was in such a country mood for a little bit. But right now,
Oh,
I'm just like, oh, I
interesting.
love country. Yeah, I love country.
No, I'm shook.
Really?
No,
I
what?
love country. I think
Wait,
I've
I don't
told
know
you
you at
this.
all.
I've told you this. I think we
I
talked about it.
feel
I love everything.
Oh my god, but I didn't know you were like a country lover. Like I thought like you're like, oh yeah, like I could listen to it, but I didn't know you like
No,
love
I love
country.
it. I don't even know how many country concerts I've been to because I've been to so many.
Wait, oh my god. And you've never been to Stagecoach?
I went once. I really want
Okay.
to go again, but yeah, I went once with my ex at the time. It was like
Okay.
years ago. I think I went in 2014. But it was really
Okay.
fun at
Oh
that
my god.
time. I liked it. It's so different than Coachella. It's very
Oh
white. At
yeah.
least it was back then.
I would imagine the demographic changed.
I think country's probably gotten more popular among like other demographics, but at the time, like you definitely stand out like when you're like not white.
Oh
But
my
it's
god, yeah.
fun. People are really nice. It's a very welcoming environment. Like you don't feel weird being the only person of color or whatever. At least I didn't at the time. Yeah.
So interesting. It's so funny because I always think that like you and my friend Summer have very similar music tastes. Like I think that if you guys got in a room together, like you guys would
Yeah.
listen to the same thing. But she's very like rap. She loves
I love
rap,
rap. Yeah.
like hip hop, but then she also loves EDM. So that's kind of like what I pictured your music taste being. And like obviously like Brat Summer and things like that. But that's like what my vision was. And then I know
Yeah.
that you like some oldies as well.
I
But I guess
do.
yeah, you do have a pretty big range so that I
I
think
love
about it.
like reggaeton. Yeah.
Okay, you have range. You have
I've
range.
range, bitch. I've range. I forget.
It's been gloomy the last 3 days, and I have been popping out my Halloween playlist. So that's
Oh
what's
my
going on
god,
with me.
Natalia.
I am
I
transitioning.
cannot. I cannot with the corporations either. Like apparently they're already bringing out fall stuff. Being like a fashion content creator, I'm like seeing people already posting fall outfits. I'm like, no, I'm not ready.
I'm not gonna tie these titties. It's
Yeah.
summer.
It's so well, also like in LA, it never feels like fall until November.
Yeah,
Like it's so
that's true.
hot for so long. So, anyways, how are you? How are you feeling?
Oh my god, I'm good. I had like a big project at work, not to get all corporate, so I've died for the last 3-4 months. But I'm free,
It's a long
so
time.
I she has a life back. I
Yay.
finished like all the lab work 2 weeks ago, and then like I was able to present, and now like I'm done. I can hang out with people and be happy
Yes.
again, which I'm pumped for. How about you? What's going on?
I am great. I've been in my staying at home era, as I mentioned, but literally, because I feel like the minute you step outside of the house, $50 gone. Like,
Period.
so I'm really, really just trying to like not go out because, and it's hard because it's like you want to hang out with friends, but I swear the minute I hang out with anyone, $100, $50,
$100
$40
gone.
gone,
Yeah.
you know? So I'm just for a second just trying to stay still. So I've been reading a lot and I have fun topics to talk about. But on another side note, I also started microdosing again. So I feel like that would be
Oh
fun to talk
shit.
about.
Yes, yes. I would love to talk about that. That's very interesting.
It is. I feel
I
like
wanna
it intrigues people. I guess it's becoming something people talk about more, but it is a bit taboo because the war on drugs for like the
Yeah,
past
it's still like
however
illegal.
long.
Like for example, like our parents' generation see it as like, oh
Yeah.
my god, you're in a dark path.
Like I think my parents are more
Oh
open-minded
really?
to
Oh my
it
god, my mom would die.
because really if you were like I'm microdosing?
Oh, she would start crying.
Really?
Yeah, my mom is. Hardcore.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, just because I feel like nowadays it looks so medicinal, like it's like in a capsule and like there's like a dosage and there's like so much research. I don't know. But I don't know. My
Yeah.
parents used to probably be really like anti it, but they're more open-minded now, I would
Okay, I
say,
love
as
that.
with like education and like just learning about it.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
What made you want to try it again or like give it a go, and how are you doing it?
Okay, so I guess we'll start with like the history of it. So I first learned about it years ago through my sister, like microdosing and the internet actually, like TikTok. I remember there was this girl that I like followed that like was talking all about her journey. And at the time I was going through a breakup and it was really hard. Like I was probably in the worst place mentally that I've ever been in. So I was like, okay, it's not gonna hurt. Like I was even in therapy, but I decided
Yeah.
to give it a shot. So I started trying to microdose. And so there's different methods to doing it. The standard like method, I forget who the scientist is that came up with that, is 1 day microdose, 2 days off. And then there's another method, it's called Jonah's method. It's 10 days on, 5 days off. So you don't do it every single day. You can choose either method. Initially, when I was doing it, I was doing 1 day on, 2 days off, and it helped so much with what I think at that time was depression. And
Mm.
then I just like slowly stopped repurchasing it. So I just kind of like weaved off of it and like life resumed. And then most recently, I was just kind of like, I feel like kind of bleh. I still am connected to the company that I would buy it from. Saw that they were promoting. I was like, oh, maybe it's time to like give it a try. So I just bought some more and I was like, okay, let's try it. And then this time I've been doing a lower dose, but 10 days on, and then I'm going to do 5 days off. So we'll see how this method works. From here, it says the 10 days on, 5 days off is good for long term mood enhancement, anxiety relief, cognitive focus, and supporting the senses. So I'm going to try that. But so far, as far as the effects, what I've noticed the most, because I wouldn't say I needed it for like depression this time around, but
Yeah.
it was just kind of to see like, will it enhance my life in any way?
Yeah.
I've noticed that it's made me focus so much more and just made it so much easier to get through tasks throughout the day without, because I've done Adderall before and that you feel like you're on crack. Even like energy drinks, you feel very
Yeah,
antsy
it's
and
like
you're
too
getting,
much.
it's too much. This isn't that. It's just more like you're focused, you're getting through the day. And it's easier to become mindless and like sit and watch TV or scroll or like just do things that aren't productive. So
Yeah.
I've found that really beneficial and just like overall like boosted my mood, I would say. But it's helped a lot with being a lot more like, okay, let's take action.
Yeah. Oh my god. So I well, because I've told you before we started recording that like I have never like officially, I guess, microdose, like where like I know the dose. If I've had mushrooms, I'll be like, oh, I'll just take a little bite and I'm like vibes, you know? But it
Yeah,
is I think it's good to make the distinction of like there's like an actual like you know the dosage, you know how many mgs, like
exactly. It's a lot more like medicated than like a bag of mushrooms and you're like, I'm just gonna take a couple.
take a little bit because when you were mentioning it, I was like, oh, I have microdose too, but like taking a little doesn't equal microdosing because you
Yes.
don't know the dose. Dose implies you know what you're taking.
Exactly.
Not just vibes because I've definitely quote unquote microdose and I'm like, "Ba-ba-ba-bam." So I think that's like, it's good to make that distinction. But that's very interesting. So how long has it been since you started doing it again?
Just a week. Yeah, it's just been 5 days. So I
Okay.
haven't even finished the full like 10 days of on. But already I noticed such a difference. And to further prove, I am on my period. So if there was any, it's not like I'm in my follicular period where follicular phase, sorry,
Yeah.
where I have the increase in hormones. If anything, this is the blehiest, unmotivated time I'm supposed to be in, yet I'm
Yeah.
feeling great. So I did put it on my close friends to see if anyone had some questions. So I'll answer some of like the basic ones right now. So how does it feel? So that's actually a really important question, I think, to answer because
Mhm.
microdosing, you actually don't feel anything. You're not supposed to feel any different. Of course, like I feel more focused, but I don't feel out of control or like I'm on any substance. To compare it to Adderall again, when I have taken Adderall, which is like a prescription drug for ADHD, I
Yeah.
feel like I am on drugs. Like I feel it,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my
This is nothing like that at all. It's kinda like if you drink a tea or because I don't even wanna compare it to coffee because coffee you can feel, but if you were to drink, like, a nice matcha tea and you feel that, like, rise of, like, consistent energy, that's what I would compare
Yeah.
it to. It's not at
Okay.
all like a feeling where you feel out of control. Someone asked also, like, "Do you feel like you're hallucinating?" So, not at all, because with micro, you're not.
Okay.
I believe I haven't really, like, fully macrodosed. Macrodose would be, like, you're taking a lot, but microdosing, you don't get near that.
I mean, I'm someone that has macrodose, and let me tell you, it doesn't sound like anything like I used to experience. Uh, but no, my question was, so we love drinks that have adaptogens, like for example,
Yes.
in euphoric, kind of gives you a boost of energy and like you feel happy. But I mean, the feeling is pretty short term. I feel good from the kin for like an hour and
Yeah.
a half, maybe like ish, maybe two.
Yeah.
Compared to something like a drink that has adaptogens, is it a little more the same or completely different?
I think it's similar. It's definitely similar. Because also there's a lot of benefits to taking legal mushrooms, which is lion's mane, cordyceps. There's so many mushrooms that you can be taking that are amazing for brain health and
Yeah.
focus. There's
No, yeah,
so
yeah.
many mushrooms that have these benefits. I feel like it's very similar to that, but just in its own lane, if that makes sense. Like I
Yeah.
take lion's mane and I take cordyceps, but taking psilocybin is completely different than when I take those.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, that's good.
It
Just
feels
I
more
think that
effective for the mind. I feel like when I take it, I am more inclined to be seeing things with the glass half full, if that makes sense, than
gotcha.
glass half
So you're just
empty.
yeah.
A little less like negative self-talk, which is
Yeah, which I mean,
wild.
when you talk about the research that has been done on psychedelics for mental health benefits, that has always the main thing, right? Like it's always taken as an antidepressant, as a way to like overcome trauma. So it does make sense that like you would be like, oh, like this is kind of nice. It like backs what has been researched before. So that's cool.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think to answer the question of someone asking, is it like safe or unsafe? There is so many like caveats that need to go into this because that's the big key question, right? How do you make sure it's safe? And I can't really answer that question, but I think we can give like a lot of disclaimers, right? Where it's like the source has to be someone like you trust because it's only legal, I believe. Is it in Oregon? No. Oregon? Washington?
Um, Oregon, I believe. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Oregon. Okay, so right now it's only legal fully in
Yeah.
Oregon, but I don't know how companies are doing it, but there's a lot of legitimate companies selling it and
Yeah.
they sell it online. I don't know how they get around these regulations,
I have
but
no idea.
somehow it's working. But anyways, like I think if you are interested in it, it requires tons of research into like where you're getting it, the supplier, and it coming from like a trusted source and that sort of thing. But as far as like, so I think if all of those are check marked, as in like I've done my research, I know the risks, you've looked at your own mental health and made sure that it's a lot. Because does it have what are like the negative? I'm trying to think.
Well,
If,
I mean, I know like one common one, if you have a family history of like
right, that's what
things
I was
like
gonna say.
schizophrenia, bipolar, like something of that family, it could activate it in a sense. So even like drinking, things like that. So being like self-aware of your own history and understanding that like not one size fits all, I think it's good to go into these things with that caveat, right? Because like
Yeah,
what might work for one person may not work for you. And
exactly.
I kind of wanted to talk about an organization called MAPS,
Okay, yeah.
um, which I feel like it's a pretty good resource if you're curious. I only know because one of our friends has a company called Spot Lab, shout out, and they do collaborate with MAPS to like throw different events and things like that. And what MAPS stands for is a Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. So they're basically like all against like the war on drugs and explaining how it's essentially pretty much leading to lack of education in these things. And they're trying to teach people how to navigate an altered consciousness. Once again, it's all about education. And if you are going to do these things, like how can you proceed in the best way possible? And that means safety, but it also means how can you get the most out of having this experience? Knowing what you're getting into is super important. So I feel like if you are curious about some of like how to do things safely, like that, it could be a really good resource and they can point you to different resources from there. So I feel like that's just something nice to have if you are curious. But I'm just all for decriminalizing everything because the more you criminalize something, the worse people
Yeah.
pop off. And even like I think about like they don't have this at Coachella, but I remember when I went to Lighting in a
Oh,
Bottle.
yes. The
Yeah,
Narcan stations,
yeah, which
right?
is like,
Yeah.
I get that people are like, "Oh, so you're accepting drugs? Oh my goodness." But it's like, okay, like people are gonna do them. So why not have people not drop dead? So
Exactly.
I think it's good to look at these things through that lens of like no stigma. Because people that are curious about trying something, they're gonna try it. So it's like, why not do it as clean as possible?
I agree, and if you've never, like, heard about it and are new to it, I think there's so much, like, one, research on how, like, assisted medical with, like, psilocybin, they've done, like, a tons of research. I think London has quite a few, like, research on psilocybin, and then in the US, they've done a few. Even with, like, MDMA, they've done it with, like, PTSD and depression, that sort of thing. But also, my favorite human, Andrew Huberman, has a whole episode.
What?
I love him, but he has a whole episode on the benefits of it. So we can link that as well if you want to deep dive. Because the way he explains things is he'll just bring in a ton of research, more
I
than
love
you
that.
and I ever would. Like, we're just talking
Yeah.
about our personal experiences, but he would bring a lot of research. And then you can kind of go over like every aspect if you want to learn more about this and come to a decision if it's right for you. And it's becoming a lot more destigmatized and talked about just because there's been so much research and progression within like the mental health and like science community regarding it.
Such a different experience than I've had because when I used to be out here in these streets doing the mushrooms, there was no buying it knowing what you're taking, like when I back
Mm,
back in my day, I'll nibble a little bit and that's a microdose. So it is so interesting how like
how it's changed.
there was no education there. So it is cool that between like you and me it has been such a shift. So that's amazing.
It is. We've progressed. Okay, so someone asked, how do you feel initially when you took it? Does it affect your energy levels at all? I would say yes. It affects it in a positive way. Like, I feel more energized, but
Yeah.
similar comparison to matcha, it's not like a coffee jitter energize. It's more like a just consistent like energy level.
Yeah, it sounds like it's like a norm, like a gradual, like, oh, I feel awake. It doesn't sound like
Yeah.
it's like a wow.
So someone asked how much I'm taking. I'm taking zero point 0.1 grams. And then macro would be like 1.1, just to put it in perspective. It's like barely
Yeah, it's like a
anything.
tenth of a macro dose or a normal, yeah,
A little
dose,
bit
whatever.
less, yeah. And again, like I am fully functioning because people are asking if I'm functioning. I look at me now. I'm fully functioning. I'm just kidding. But fully functioning doesn't mess with anything. Do I feel exhausted or anything afterwards? No. But again, it's because it's a micro. I think if you're taking macro, maybe it affects people differently.
Yeah.
And then someone asked, does it affect my productivity positively or negatively? And I think I mentioned this earlier, but positively affects it.
So you do feel like you can work, like if you had to go to work,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. I think I would be better at work. Like I've been much more productive than I've been before.
Okay, okay.
I guess that's it. But overall, I just think, as you guys hopefully always know, I'm not here promoting it. I'm just openly, candidly discussing something that I've done in my life that's benefited me, and just like sharing that journey with you guys. So by no means is this me promoting it because it might not be right for everyone. It
Mhm.
probably isn't right for everyone, but that is your own journey to figure that out. And of course, as always, we encourage lots of research. This is just a conversation, never a research based conversation or
Yeah.
suggestion. So we will link some resources. So I'll link that episode. Natalia will link that organization she talked about.
Yeah.
So you guys can like just look into it more. I think there's a ton of documentaries on it too, even
Yeah,
on
exactly.
Netflix. So you can always dive in deeper, but this is just like a first person recounting of my experience. And if you have more questions, I would be happy
Mhm.
to answer.
Yeah, and plus in general, I feel like this documentaries that talk about this stuff, they also talk about like how the brain works, which I think is just fascinating.
Mhm.
So like it's like a cool thing to look into as like oh my god, like
Yeah.
how fun, how interesting, like this is how science or how a drug is being used to like alter your brain chemistry.
Mhm.
You know, the difference between this and like something that a psychiatrist would give you, at least as of today, is that it's just not approved, you know, obviously. But
Exactly.
um so I feel like it's worth just diving in and getting in a
Yeah.
rabbit hole with your tinfoil hat.
Exactly. Okay, so now we're gonna switch gears. I have a hypothetical scenario for you, Natalia.
I'm ready.
Okay, you are at home with Daniel. You guys are living together at this point. I'm just gonna put that in the universe.
Okay.
And you go downstairs, you wake up, and you're making your coffee, and you're getting all these notifications that apparently everyone all over the world has received a box in front of their door. And there's like this mysterious note on the box that says, what lies inside is a measure of how long your life is. So you're
Oh my
like,
god.
okay, what the hell? You open the door, and what do you know? Lo and behold, the box. Two boxes are in front of your door, one for you, one for Daniel. And you look and you see your neighbors have them too. So apparently, globally, everyone is getting this box. And you come to find out, we're going to skip forward a little bit. You come to find out, yes, these boxes are accurate and they really are reflecting how long someone has to live. So the way they are doing that is one has a long string or like a short string or a medium string, and that will determine if you have a long life or a short life.
Oh my god.
And again, this is happening globally, so it's not just happening to you. Everyone has a box that basically tells them that. Are you, think about this, okay? Just think about it. Are you going to look inside of it once you
First of
find
all,
out that it's for real?
okay, I was gonna say, first of all, Sheen, the fact that you said I would have to go downstairs to get my box, you're manifesting a big house for me, so
I
thank you so
am.
much.
I am, girl.
That's what I got from this conversation. I was like, oh, two-story house in this economy? Thank you so much. So it doesn't tell me, it'll tell me how I'm gonna die. It was just the string,
No, no,
right?
no. It won't tell you how you're going to die. No.
It's just how long I have to live.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think there's two scenarios for me. So I
Yeah.
think initial thought is that I don't want to know. I think that I would live my life with a lot of anxiety if I saw like a short line, but
Yeah.
I would have a lot of relief if I saw that it was long.
Exactly. I
You
know
know,
that's
like
how
I
it
would have,
is.
I got time because as it stands today, I exist in this world, in my world, with the mama's gonna live to 100. You know, like that's how
That's
I live my
everyone's
life.
assumption. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I feel like I would only open it if I was in a dark place.
You would only open it if you were in a dark place. Really?
You know why? Because I'm a little dark and twisty in this way,
Uh-oh.
but if I'm in a dark place and I see that it's short, then I think that that is the kick in my ass that I would need to change my life a little bit and be like, okay, I need to do something with like what I have
Uh,
left, and I can't be in this rut because I nobody got time.
that's
Like,
interesting. Okay.
also my personality is that I tend to be more fuck it YOLO when I'm a little dark. I would be impulsive and be like, let me just fucking know. So
Mm.
yeah, how about you? What do you think?
Well, what inspired this was the book The Measure. I just finished it by
Mhm.
being a girly who just stays at home and reads. Um, and I think initially I was thinking I wouldn't open it. And I think I'm still going to stick with that. But I do think I wonder if I had like a partner, if that would be different. Because in the book, a lot of partners like open it together. Or
Oh,
like one of the partners wants to open it and the other doesn't, but because like the other one opened it, the other one does. But
interesting.
also, what makes it interesting, what you don't think about is if you're in a relationship and one of you has a longer string than the other,
Yes.
what do you do then, right? Like there were so many things that you come across that you wouldn't think of. And it's interesting because it's like all that this does is give us the knowledge of when we're going to die because that's the big unknown, right? In our lives, we
Yeah.
all just envision that we're all going to live to like 90, 100, but we know statistically that's not true. But we
Correct.
all assume that. So
Yeah.
all this does is basically give us the perspective that like no, some of us are going to have short strings, some of us are going to have long strings. Like how are you going to choose to live your life? Like you, and what the book reiterated was that people who find long strings have a sense of relief, people who find short strings have to really grapple with that, right? But I think I would like to live in ignorance. I think I would like to just continue my life as it is. I think it would be nice if this would happen because it forces you to confront how fleeting life is. But I think reading this book just helped me put that in perspective because I think we all want to live in a balance where like we know that our string can potentially be short, but also plan for the future still. So it's not like spend all your money because your string is short, but also like life is short. So how are you going to make
Yeah.
sure you're like seizing every day?
You know what? It gets me thinking about how like short and long are such like it's arbitrary for some people, right? I have friends that live as if they have a really short life, you know?
Yeah.
And I live in a way that you would expect someone that has a quote unquote long life, but I have friends that like move fast. So it's interesting to know that they live that way without knowing anything, right?
Mhm.
I wonder if it's a personality type either way, like it wouldn't matter whether or not you know.
So
Like
yeah, I was going to ask
yeah.
you, how would knowing or not knowing about your string, so you're still in this hypothetical world, affect your life?
I mean, if I see the long one, then nothing changes. But if I had to see the box, for some reason, or Daniel is like, you have to open this box. Like, we got the kids. Like, I gotta fucking know. I don't know if I get convinced somehow to open this box. I think I would burn the sucker just to avoid the temptation in my closet for the rest of all eternity. But if it was short, I think I would change my life completely, which is interesting because
Mm,
it poses the question of like, am I living how I would want to live? I would change a lot of my life. I would just not concern myself so much with money, for example, because a big reason why money is concerning is the house, the kids, the things that I need to like whatever. But if I open it and I have 5, 10 more years, and it's like, what is 401k? What is the house?
yeah.
What is working when I have a credit card that who cares? I'm dying in 5 years. Load that puppy up. So I do think my life would be completely different. It would be like 100% just experiences and fun and
Mhm.
travel and enjoying my family more. Like it would just be a life of pleasure, less
Yeah.
working and worrying about the future. Because as a Virgo, I feel like I do spend a lot of time mulling over things like
Mm.
that. So I think that I would live more freely, which is spooky because then that lets me know it's like, oh, I'm not doing everything I would want to be doing if I didn't have these long term goals that I've placed on myself. It's very fascinating. I like it.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of our conversation of the 20s versus 30s. So what we were saying in that video or in that podcast was like in your 20s there's so much like room for possibility and life versus your
Yeah.
30s like some possibilities dwindle down. And someone had commented saying they don't really agree with that take because they feel like in life anything is possible. Like there's always going to be like doors that are open to you. So you shouldn't think in that way. But this book reminded me like No, because yes, we can be optimistic and think like every door is open to us and we have everything, but life is short. There is only so much you can do. So it's like some people who realize they have, for example, like a short string, realize, yeah, maybe I can't get married. Like maybe I can't have a kid. And then how can I still make my life fulfilling? Like, is my life measured by how long my string is or how much I can do? Like, how can we still live a
Oh,
life worth living even if we have whatever string? And I think that's like the ultimate question. Like, how do we measure life?
that is my brain is my brain is having a macro dose right now. That is insane. No, you know that gets me thinking about like hypothetically people that like really want to be parents, and if you were to see like a short
Yeah.
string and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, my dream is to become a mom or a dad, but how selfish is it that if I become a parent and I will die?
Mhm.
But if that's your dream, that's crazy to think about, right? Because it's not just about you. And it's, oh wow, that is fascinating. Do we have better lives because we're hopeful, or are we, if we have these timelines, like how much would they change? Would it change for you if you found out you have a shorter line?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
What would you do differently?
I think I would stop living alone. I'd probably like move back with my parents because, like, why would I want to like spend my last
I'm
years
alone.
alone? I'd probably travel a lot more, probably spend
Yeah.
less money on like random things and just, yeah, focus on experiences similar to you. But yeah, I'd probably live a little differently,
Yeah, that's so crazy. Wow. I
just
do
a little
wonder that.
differently. Yeah.
And it also gets me to think about my friends that do live like this, you know? If do they live like this because they think that? Like, do they actually, does their subconscious think that life is short?
No, no, no. So, like, for example, what ended up happening in the book was like people who found out they had long strings, so like they assumed they're gonna like live long at that point. They started going crazy initially with drugs and experimenting because they were like, I'm gonna
Oh,
live till I'm old. So, like, I don't need to worry about the
the
risks.
consequences of my
All
actions.
yeah, so I think as humans, we're designed to just assume that we're gonna live forever, and, like, these accidents, these things don't happen to us. So I think even the people you say that live like they have a short string, I think they are living under the assumption that it's not gonna be them and that they're gonna live forever.
I didn't think about the consequences of someone having a long life of like, fuck it then. I'll I'll do crack outside. Like
Yeah.
that is, this was the question. Long as not being fulfilling at all.
Yes, yes, it
You
doesn't.
know, like it could be very sad, long life. Life is, I guess, what you make it. Wow, this is a really cool
Concept to think
question.
about.
Yeah, I
But
love
to
that.
piggyback off of that, it's kinda like how people say just because you've had a 50-year marriage doesn't mean it was a successful one. Because I think we celebrate they've had a
Long.
35-year marriage, amazing, but it's like, how many years was that? Like, great. I think that's the more important factor, and that's kinda like what I think this book helped me reframe.
I mean, really, if you think about when you are at the end, it will still feel like a snapshot. You know,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
it will not feel
yeah,
like, oh my god, it's been years. You know,
yeah.
that is insane. I mean, if you think about it, this question has been posed in a lot of different books and movies. When you look at, like, for example, like vampire, like Twilight, they just, sorry guys to ruin the vibes.
What do you mean? That is
No,
a
no, but no,
literary
no, no. Okay,
masterpiece.
I'll take out the Twilight. I'll be more educated. Interview with the Vampire.
What?
Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, okay, I haven't read that.
Basically, one of the vampires that got converted is like woman, and all she wants to do is die, and she can't
Oh.
die because she's a vampire, she can't be a mom, she can't do all these things, and she's just like,
Mm,
it was so fun for a little bit, but now I just want this to end.
mm.
So, you know, even when you have quote unquote immortality, it's like, what are you doing with it? So
That's another thing that I've heard as well, where it's like life is meaningful because we're not immortal. If we were immortal, then everything would kind of like lose its meaning in a way, right?
exactly. Because I don't think For example, if someone said, "Hey, Natalia,
You can live
you want to be
forever.
you want to be a fairy, you want to live forever." I think I would say a fairy, yes, but I would want to be a mortal fairy. Like I'm not trying to like live 600 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just because I think that I would be lost. And I think it all comes down to purpose, you know? Because like, would you be immortal?
No. I mean, if I had like a lovely man's, maybe I'll give it a like 200 years or something and I was still hot.
Well,
I'd be
yeah.
down.
Ask it on a
Yeah.
date. I feel like this is good, guys. This is juicy.
It is a good like date question. I feel like this is what we need to do to spark some good dating questions.
Yeah, that's so fire. Yeah, this was very cool conversations. Very interesting. Oh, we love you, little rats. Let us know what you think. Thanks for
Juicy,
all the
juicy
really
episode.
good questions, Sheen. You killed it today. I'm like intrigued.
Thank you. You killed it too. That was fun.
Yeah, it
Love
was
you,
so
little rats. If
fun.
you have any more questions, I feel like this couldn't be as comprehensive on the microdosing aspect as one would wish and hope. But if you have any more questions, let us know. It's hard to like
Mm,
talk about it. There's so
yeah,
many
and we can always
dimensions to it. So yeah,
exactly. And I'm happy to talk about it some more too. But
truth.
we love you so much.
Love you, little rats.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, go to the YouTube, look at the chapters on Spotify, give us some love, and we will see you next
Next
week.
week. Bye.
Bye.